Hey everyone, Philly's stepping on the Fine Brothers' toes, and I'm doing a little react video. So, I'm reacting to a video called PHR 2/771 Educational Video. Dash in between PHR and the 2, obviously. Make it a little soft so it doesn't like overtake the entire thing. Kind of like the music. I don't want to show the video itself. Sorry about that. Room number 1. Room number 1 is where I live. Who are you? Okay, it's called number 1 because you're the smartest. A smart person would have given me their name first. Okay, room number 2, are they the second smartest? Taking the music. To live in room 2. No shit, Sherlock. They are an animal with lots of fur that doesn't breathe. What the fuck? I'm not even sure that's a dead animal. I think it's like just a bunch of hair glued together. I'm not sure what I'm looking at. It's hairy. It doesn't breathe, I'm assuming. And on to the next. Room number 3. Of course, that would be the next one. Yay, you can count. Weird camera. Nobody wants to live in room 3 anymore. What happened? That's because there's skin all over one of the walls. That seems so bad. Fucked up, but not so bad. It's Andy's skin. Who the fuck is Andy and why is his skin all over the world? He won't let me take pictures. What? Okay, that's coral. But I still did. That's rude. Soft room. So I guess this is room numero 4 here. The soft room has one rule. Don't bring in a hammer. You can stay inside as long as you want to. Okay. And no one else can come in. So it's a room where you can be alone. Until you leave. Well, duh, then it's empty. Jim went in about 2 weeks ago. Well, it says in 2 weeks ago. He probably died. We'll check on him tomorrow. Well, how? You can't. I guess you can open the door. Before we continue to the suicide room. Suicide room? Something you need to keep in mind. Certain objects a dead bird are unsafe. Well, depends on how you use them. Looking at them may cause death. The following list is for safety reference. I guess looking at them in real life. Ugh, that one might cause death. Might come out and kill you. The previous is also smelly. Oh, that's mean! Russian book. Most of the books in, I guess, PHR 2. Avoid books that don't. Also, don't look up. I missed some things I was talking about. Consist of one word only. Okay. So, the title or just the book itself is only one word? Don't look up. That concludes the safety breathing. Suicide room. This sounds pleasant. No one ever goes into the suicide room. Gee, I wonder why. It's still under construction. It'll never be finished. Wow, you have shitty contractors. I have a good number for good ones. Because of what happened inside. Again, I have a number for good ones. I might be able to fix this problem for you. Everything is leaking? You need a plumber. And a biohazard. So, basically the suicide room is the you can't go in room. Okay. So that was something. I'm not sure what, but that was something. They haven't uploaded a video in... Oh, Prelude was 2 months ago. Never mind. I was gonna say, they haven't uploaded a video in years, so... Well, let's... So basically, these are supposed to be, like, apartments for the apocalypse or something. The channel that did this was called, Aspicio Omniam. It's Latin. I can't say it for shit. It's really weird. The name of the channel is PHR-2/ back. Is it? I think it's back. Try either one of the slashes. 771 educational video. I was kind of digging the music. Like, I guess most people think it's like kind of weird and creepy, but you know, I was kind of like, I was like kind of bobbing my head to it, like, like it's something I'd walk to or something. I guess it's kind of weird. I'm guessing this person is Russian because one of the books and one of the shots was actually like Russian. So I'm guessing whoever did this comes from Russia. Which, if you look at below, a Russian animator, they are masters at this weird shit. That actually does have a story, but it's just so weird you kind of have to process it in your head a little bit. And from the sounds of it, there are probably more rooms, because they mentioned a few more people besides 1, 2, and Andy. I'm only calling the first one 1 because he didn't give us a name or anything we can call him except I. So he just said I'm the smartest, so I'm not going to call him that because that is an egotistical thing to say. Like they mentioned, Peter, I think? Like the guy who was in like the soft room and hadn't come out in like 2 weeks. And he's probably dead. So there were more than 3 people. So I'm guessing there's more than the rooms we saw. Like the suicide room, nobody can go in anyway. The soft room, I don't think anyone lives there because the rule is you can't have people in there with you. But I guess if like somebody hasn't come out in a while, you can open the door and check on them. But because they weren't really clear on that rule, I'm guessing you just can't enter if somebody alive is in there. I'm thinking that's the rule. So, I kind of hope for their sake that is the rule, because how are you going to check on the guy otherwise? Because that would suck. That means nobody can use the soft room anymore, and that probably is like a really nice room, because the soft room implies nice, soft things. Or a padded room. Either way. Another one on here called Missing Person Report. Police Department, Nippon Police Department, Investigation Report 1, Missing Person, Search Parameters Vertical. Person keeps Person something else. Hang on. No, it keeps doing like this weird vibrating thing on persons, making me crazy. What the fuck is that word it keeps turning into? Subject, missing person. It did it there too. I know I should actually be watching this properly. And it did it right there. It said something like fleshicle, so wombling? A woman? Okay, something very strange is going on. Incident date. Okay, your tape is broken, dude. Okay, there's something weird going on here. I thought that's me. Thank you, Illuminati. Innocent details. The house, PHR, I guess this happens to the University Education video. Fungal infection? What the fuck? Y'all had athlete's foot? Or is this like a clicker thing? Computer scientist, unmarried, no relative. Cries a lot, bad interior decorator, afraid of feet, relatively unattractive. Wow, you're mean. Goodbye letter, so they probably ran away. Ruined by moisture. Ugh. Bad plumbing? 3 nails. Fingernails. Bloody. Yeah, fingernails. A toe. Smelly. And bloody and cut off. I think it was theirs! Low hygiene. You didn't question any of the residents? Well, you suck at your job. 3 smashed cameras, a torn photo, no soap whatsoever. Trainee status. Billy stubbed his toe, otherwise satisfactory. So there are layers to the society, because he said, like, lower layer. Other side of a long, wet tunnel. Ugh, that'd play with my sciences. Billy was too scared to go in. I guess Billy is a, his toe was stubbed as punishment. Ow, that's mean. Philip went instead. He didn't come back. I have a cousin named Philip. Let's apologize to Billy. Search results found. 3 smash cameras. Somebody's smashing these cameras. Mold, which makes sense. A swarm of toe biters. Training status. Billy's feet hurt. Philip drowned. What, did he take a wrong turn at the ocean? He said it was wet, not flooded. Though I guess it was flooded, it's very wet. So I guess the higher up the layers, the higher up the people. Please leave me alone. That's not helpful. Also, why is the air coming from after her? Andy's broke. Wait, wasn't Andy the skating guy? Oh dear. He offered to share all of DL's financial records. In exchange for licking. Ew! Hey, Billy. Billy, just cut your feet off. 1 smash camera, financial records, a box of what? Training status. Billy is a brave boy. Steve is jealous. You couldn't have offered up Steve then? Because Clearly you want it. Billy's just sitting there going, I need. Fourth flare. Yale is not here. Because it's too high up and it's too hot. With this in mind, we'll need to look at the administration to have the financial records analyzed. We can do that. We're not going to look at it. To see water, heating, unpaid for, main expenses, cameras, microphones, socks. Investigation results. Beale is still missing. He's presumed dead. Well, yeah, he took forever. No one really cares. Well, you suck at your job. Billy has found a passion for old shoes. I'm very... Okay. This is a society of foot fetish people, isn't it? Well, that was weird and fucked up and creepy and strange and my house is making weird noises. Oh boy. What else has this crazy person done? You can actually like the whole channel just because I'm curious, and if this like keeps holding my interest like this, I'm probably gonna subscribe to them. So let's try Pythior, whatever the fuck that means. This one looks like an animation. If I have an apartment across from me, I've got a problem because I live in a suburban neighborhood. I just read the description. Nothing's really happening, so I'm just gonna comment on stuff like that. Well, I just read the descriptions for the others. That might have helped me. So basically, are you gonna do anything? I'm not poking it. No, it didn't do anything. Try concrete screams. Yes, this is another... I'm not showing it because you guys should watch it yourself. Hearing a scream of a fat tenant, ran out of the doorway and into the wide street. There lay a woman who had been stabbed. He called for an ambulance and waited by her side. A man passed, ignoring them completely, but she screamed so hard. I'm guessing this isn't so much animation as it's music. Yeah, yeah, these two are music, so they didn't really start doing the weird shit until, I guess, the educational video and the missing person report. Oh wait, this one's moving. Every morning the same routine. He would wake up, wash himself, eat, wash himself again. He would sit in the living room window and try to read the same book day after day. His eyes returned to the same window, building across. Upon realizing this, he cried. It's a nice shot of, like, the city. And like I said, I think this is Russia, so I wouldn't be shocked if this is, like, a shot from Moscow. The reason I'm saying that is mainly because I've been to Moscow, and it's the closest I can think of in my head to Russia and would have a shot like what they have, which is basically just an apartment complex, so there's nothing special here. I'm guessing this guy wrote, like, the, music himself. So let's check out Prelude. Gwen Clancy is being the only one forced to interact with the hall front door. Often wondered if the apartment was really empty. She could feel a strong scent of paper through the keyhole. It's not too terrible. Shuffling noises sometimes come through. Probably mice, cockroaches, possibly pages being turned. And those three can sound very similar. Maybe not cockroaches, but mice and page turning. Not... Well, this is a typical Russian apartment, actually, looking at it. You're probably wondering how I know this. I've stayed in one. Kind of want the pyramid triangle-y thing, though. Yeah, I'm getting my decorating tips from creepy videos. Well, I do have to redecorate my basement, so... Lots of owls. A camera. The question of if the 3 weird videos we've watched tie into this... Is he being weird for the sake of being weird, or is it just... There's an actual story going on here, and we don't know what the story is yet? Because if there's an actual story going on here, that would be kind of cool. Oh yeah, this is a Russian apartment, because instead of doors, they sometimes have curtains, and I'm seeing like a... Really? That's it? Come on. Let me get the descriptions of the other 2 videos. This document is part of an ongoing investigations. Party without sufficient authorization are not to view this document. Well, that's us right out. Then, oh wait, never mind. Who cares? If you have inadvertently come into possession of this document, you are under the obligation to return it to babiesnightmare@blogspot.com. Ha ha ha. It's a little advertisement for his blogspot, which is called Baby's Nightmare. Educational video. Let's see what that says. Oh, this one just has... Damn it, I want this music now. No, this music is really freaking catchy. Like, you're hearing the music only because of the way I set this up, because the Bandicam. But it's really freaking catchy music. It's like, I just want to sit here and listen to that, and I could. I could just put this on my music list and just listen to it for fun, because there's no sound, there's no talking, it's just the creepy video itself. So that's kind of an interesting little thing. I may subscribe to them just to kind of see, you know, what their deal is and see what they do as time goes on. Because if they do something else, it could be very interesting, because they're very weird. And I looked at their blogspot, and it's just as fucked up and creepy. So... Aspicio Omniam, which I guess I'm not sure what that means. So again, I'm wondering if there's like a story to this, or if it's just random creepy stuff. Either way, they're really good, and if they're the composer of their music, that's kind of what's getting me into it more than anything else, is the music. And the missing persons thing had me like looking at things a little more closely and like rewinding and seeing like, what the fuck, what are you doing? God damn it. And then making me feel very bad for poor Billy. Like, wow, dude, maybe you might want to move. Or if you can't, you may want to, like, put steel-toed boots on or something. Because, That world is not good for your feet. I'm sorry, that just struck me as, like, insane. So yeah, that's kind of my reaction to the whole channel, and I'm sub to it now. Fuck it. That's gonna be interesting. Hey everyone, wondering what I'm doing in a blog? Well, this is kind of a second half to reacting to the entire channel, because this is their blog, Bambi's Nightmare. I just watched Nightmane's video on it, and he mentioned there might be a story in this, and thinking about it, I was theorizing there was one too. And I kind of gave him a little indicator of where I think the story is located because of the way the apartment in Prelude is set up and the Russian word on the educational video's book in one shot. I'm thinking Russia. So this is supposed to tell a little bit more of a story. Server maintenance. Emergency broadcast code. Lock entrance. Close window. Set radio to 4537 kilohertz. Receive only. Stay quiet. So maintain partial radio silence. Error retrieving information from server. Check your connection and contact your service provider if problem persists. Not sure if it's supposed to be creepy or funny. Service maintenance. Data check requested by PC7/041. Standby. 11/19/741. Firmware OK. Software version 37155T-FF134. Ports 8. Latency 1610. Static routing enable. SSPID. BGate green. Message by PCO. By PC up there. PCO7/041. Everybody confirm you're connected. Allow prelate command over your PHR so I can seal the entrances. You have 1 hour to arrange for pickup if you're missing anything. Now, PCs are basically where people are living. Like the bunkers or apartment houses that people are living is kind of the theory with this. I'm going with Nightmines because it does make the most sense. And it sounds like they're using the internet and computers. PC is slang for computers. Well, PCs are the devices they're using to talk, I should say. So this might be like a primitive internet, essentially, that they're using. Now, sealing the entrances, I'm thinking that these are kind of like a hybrid bunker / apartment building, and people can move around and walk around outside, because there are some indicators of people going outside in some of the previous videos. So the environment shouldn't be too terrible, and arrange for pickup if you're missing anything means, I guess, like if your kids are outside, get them inside. You have an hour to do so, or they're basically dead. Things like that. If you have pets, bring them inside. PHR are the actual buildings. And the numbers usually correspond with the PC. And the number letter combination is usually a person, like the name of the population, I guess, is a code name for identity protection. PC 131. PHR 19131 is connected and supplies. A 3, 4, and 5 are present. So they help each other out. They communicate and they give each other supplies. If we have these extra supplies, we give them to somebody who might need them. So it's a pretty friendly community most of the time. There are people who do get violent. Concrete Scream does point that out, that there are people who help and there are people who ignore. But it looks like this is a fairly friendly environment in a way. at least the people in the bunkers, and I'll get into, there might be different people here and there. From the missing persons video, there may be people who do not live in the bunkers normally, who live in a different society. Maybe people who are in the bunkers don't want to deal with people who don't normally live in the bunkers for whatever reason. And if they say present, the person is here. We go to 504 because apparently they are not supplied. They need supplies. A2 is restocking the bunker and has no response to radio calls, and A1 is present. Meanwhile, I think somebody else was looking for... Yeah, like another person, A11, was not present in their original bunker, but another bunker said, yeah, he's present here. He's getting supplies, basically. So don't worry, he's safe, he's alive. So they keep in contact with each other. They tell each other if somebody is okay. And if somebody doesn't come back from a short trip, not to another bunker, but to, say, restocking a bunker, you seal them because something might have happened. Because there's something going on here. There's something that is necessitating all of this. In this case, I don't see this as dark as most people would, because I'm seeing a lot of cooperation. I'm seeing a lot of communication between these different bunkers. And normally in these, if this is a post-apocalyptic thing, which is the big theory, normally in these things, you know, the bunkers would be warring with each other. They'd be like fighting over supplies, but no, they're actually helping each other out. They're a society. And here's one. We have reached A2. He's on his way now. Oh, they find A2 in the next blog post. And they are running low on supplies, it seems. So they may have to move. They may have to go somewhere else. And they need gas mask and rations. And I guess 7504 is nearby for them. And one of the other areas says, okay, noted. So, but there seems to be this air of cooperation here. Like, people are talking to each other and letting each other know we're alive, we're okay. And there's also this little thing. They have a warning system. Not a good one, as, you know, there might be an indicator. Warning, airstrike imminent. Eliminate light sources, seal windows. So this is going to be either a chemical or biological attack, because you're sealing the windows. Or this could be a nuclear attack for the same reason. So there are 3 possible attacks this could be. False alarm. So this might have been an oops. And yeah, these aren't the same building because they're like different locations. Seems so. Since you're the furthest out, set your radio to 2030 kilohertz and update us on hostile transmissions. All emergency codes under 6 give me administrative rights by default, so I'll have full access to the main computer's drive. I'll search through the classified documents and post everything significant to the feed. So there's like a bit of a hierarchy. And they are, like I said, there's like very strong communication here. They don't really cover anything up. Posting classified documents, that's an indicator that they kind of want to inform each other. want to help each other out. So there is something... Like, they want to play it safe because there might be an airstrike coming from the south. They're probably telling, like, the northwest and eastmost ones to do the same thing. It's just we're seeing the transition to the south. So far we have... this is probably not a very huge area that they're in, if they're able to communicate so quickly. But you probably still need to walk a little bit ways and stuff like that. But again, there's this air of cooperation, weirdly enough, I'm getting. I found a document beneath the kitchen sink while looking for plastic bags. The moisture got on it, but I can almost make everything out. So, fairly moist area, so again, it's kind of like lends to it being someplace like Russia, like around Moscow, because similar to here. Production process FF5560113, owned by unlicensed distribution, forbidden. Phase 1. Intersecting the material's inert state. Submersion into HBr is the most efficient method to date. Acid. Hydrobromic acid. So this stuff dissolves in acid. Hydrobromic acid. Yes, I'm using my phone to Google this. I'm looking this up so we have the information. Hydrobromic acid is a strong acid formed by dissolving hydrobromide in water. Constant boiling. Uses. Hydrobromic acid is used for production of inorganic bromides, especially bromides of zinc, calcium, and sodium. It is useful in the region of generating organobromide compounds. Certain ethers are cleaved with HBr. It also catalyzes alkylation reactions and the extraction of certain ores. Time of the exposure is determined by the amount inhibiting impurities in the ore. Well, that lines up perfectly. Since submersion lasting longer than 3 minutes hinders needed contractive properties over the 81% mark, overtly contaminated ore is no use to us and is to be neutralized. So there's some sort of weird ore they found that can be dissolved in hydrobromic acid. Hydrobromic acid can be been prepared industrially by reacting bromide with either sulfur. Oh wait, I'm looking at synthesis. That doesn't really help me here. So that's interesting. And this ore may create some form of ether. Common effect of ethers on human beings. Acute effects of ether on humans includes respiratory paralysis, intoxication, and sedation, along with skin. Oh, this could be a variety of ether that doesn't really do the sedation part. I have a funny feeling. And yes, I'm looking this stuff up because that kind of stuck out to me. because they're talking about an airstrike looking for plastic bags which you use to seal windows. That stuff made a chemical weapon, something related to an ether, because that's what hydrogen bromide is usually used to make, an ether. Phase 2. Innervating the propeller. To avoid trauma and buy additional time, the purified ore is cooled down to 180 Kelvin. Conversion of 180 degrees Kelvin. In Fahrenheit, that's butt-fuck cold. In Celsius, that is butt-fuck cold. Okay. Once stabilized, a shallow hole, 10 millimeters in diameter, is to be drilled into the exposed joint to serve as a root and connection point for the nervature. I don't know what internervating means, so I may have to look it up. After 24 hours, gradually heat the product to still butt-fuck cold, but not as cold, 303 Kelvin, while testing for sensory responsiveness. So a few things are missing on that. Internervating the propeller. Well, that was stupid. Just gonna write it down. Supply an organ or other body part with nerves. How do you what? Were they making cyborgs or something here? Because propeller is something you put on a plane. Internervating means putting nerves into organs. How does this work? So that's a little creepy. That's kind of giving us what happened here. Cause of death. Malnutrition. Why is mal capitalized? The first stage inanity. Let me get a proper definition of inanity. It means like doesn't really matter or something, but I want to get it right. Inanity. Not anatomy, inanity. Inanity. Thank you. Equality of state or being mean as a lack of substance. So vapidness, basically. Anxiety is fear, nervousness. Sorrow is sadness. Vigor is like energized. And once you're energized, you go into ascension. Perception is the only reality in everything. Why are these philosophical ones? Mal, something's up, and mal is popping up again. Line time increased to 20 seconds. Do not broadcast unsafe lines. Oh, the game is simple. There is you and there is someone else. You both hit whenever you can until the other dies. I'm guessing this isn't a popular game in the bunker. And I'm terrified for Pithor. There's no such thing as a question. What? Well, I just proved you wrong. Concrete screams. Are the random save lines being sent from the server? They must be. Nobody else has that info. They could be fake. They are not fake. We have a resident here who knows this. There's still PRs with multiple residents. Yes, 4 or 5 of them. I think only 2 have connection. Maybe there's not as much cooperation as I thought. So I'm wondering if other videos are going to be called things like Vigor and stuff like that. So something... And this is like the latest page. I don't have anything new after that. So... Photoshop City, but obviously for the story. This is from 9-003, Emergency Code A-01 Guidelines. Until withdrawal of blue neon, which might be the name of the chemical extracted from the by the acid we were talking about earlier, the HRB of HBR, keep windows closed. Probably seal them too. Avoid sight lines. I guess anyone who isn't under the influence is shot. Do not respond to blows at the door. Try your best to keep the entrance locked. Do not attempt leaving under any circumstances, and residents committing acts of violence are considered disposable. Okay. This is kind of why I said something about the ether stuff. And one of the components is intoxication. And sometimes when you get intoxicated, you get violent. So this might be an ether that instead of sedates you, ramps you up, gets your adrenaline pumping, and gets you like fucking crazy as shit. Now, basically, the people under the influence of ether just start attacking anyone on sight. So keep under a sight line, and they may go into these buildings and bang on doors to try to find people. So don't respond to blows at the door, because I guess then they won't go away. And if somebody is committing an act of violence in front of you, you are permitted to basically destroy them, because they're under the influence of that ether, and we don't know what happens after you come down from it, or if you come down from it. Exact time about 3 a.m. It's military time and I know how to read it. That is 3 a.m. Location must be away from potential disturbances. Vehicle needed one vehicle of type car. Position vehicle in unlighted environment. Lay down the back seat. Do not move. Breathe softly. Sleep. So this is suicide. Because it didn't say turn it off. Although, they didn't say go into a... Driving through a place I didn't know. I was in the backseat. I could not recognize the driver. The driver did not respond to any attempts at communication. The vehicle was moving faster than would be anticipated in given conditions. Temporal setting was between evening and night. Streetlights and neon adverts, I guess. So, they not blue neon, actual like advertisements. Illuminated only rare passerby. I woke up upon attempting physical contact with the driver. The location I woke up on was in front of my residence, which... Entrance. All residents beside myself had been missing since. The suicide room has been... I think apparently every one of these places has a suicide room of some kind. Interesting. Out of function since... Has been out of function since. Nighttime was increased by 27 minutes in the 2 days following. My sentence is to be decided by I guess the standard of document something CNDE-01. So this person is being punished for something. So they did something wrong. This image was downloaded from my computer automatically about 3 minutes ago. The link is to this feed, but as far as I can see, I'm the only one with access to it. My connection is bad at the moment, so you might not get it clearly. Does anyone have any idea where this could have come from? Probably the central commuter surveillance system. It looks like it's from out of town, though. So there's a central computer as well as, like, computers. So these PCs are definitely like computers. And cameras are mentioned, so in the missing persons, so that's kind of interesting. The photo should be clearer now. It has no timestamp or location attached, so I doubt it was taken by the central machine. Do you think someone from outside could have sent it? No. Now that I think about it, I may recognize the buildings, but the layout and scaffolding make no sense. It's plausible this was taken sometimes during the first construction, but if so, it would have been stamped. So they started to build these, I guess, at a certain point called the first construction, the PHRs we're talking about. Type /Q to Q in QA safe line. Safe lines can contain up to 70 characters. Safe lines do not contain symbols. Safe lines can contain images. They are marked by hashes. Depending on the connection, safe lines become unstable after 7 lines on average. So it's Twitter? Hardware malfunction in copper wire connect manually. Address spelt wrong. Please, who is this? Attempted to cover the ground with a layer of lead before any sort of construction was to take place. However, small animals and children remain vulnerable. Touch the dog suffered a similar fate, but the condition progressed much slower than all previous cases. This provided researchers with the means to develop a prototype preventative vaccine. The chemical weapon. Oh, shit. With notable side effects. In a state of fear, most residents, even ones well outside the risk area, decided to vaccinate themselves. What follows was Fen with natural immunity and mild behavioral problems, as B54 was almost completely vaccinated. A scientific community was not interested in his case. He was adopted at the age of 3 by a widow, residing in B3, and died at 24 by violent... So, they tried to make a vaccine against this chemical weapon, and it had some interesting little side effects. Smelled of old stale coffee and aging fabrics. She had glass cupboard filled with ancient furry toys. They didn't look like they were meant to be played with, however. There was an impression of fragility and decorative purpose. I asked her about them when I was around 5 years old, and she brought me home for a treat after playing and riding the Ferris wheel at the park. A treat was some kind of thick cake, mostly compromised of ingredients I couldn't recognize, with a big layer of whipped cream on top. She gave me a piece of that. It was huge for my at the time standards, while gazing at me with a snail-loving look. I didn't like it at all, but I was hungry and too polite to mention it. Fortunately, I realize now she had put outstanding effort into making it. Were no friendly neighbors, family, or old friend. It was easy to imagine trying again and again to get the recipe right, throwing buckets of material away while fighting to overcome the agonizing waves of frustration, just so she could please me. Having finished my treat, I went to the living room with her, sat down to rest some more, but I was running on endless reserves of childish energy. Her apartment interested me, greatly different from anything in my narrow scope of experience. Everything inside was so old. The carpet, the tables, sofa, chairs, table mats, walls, everything was paling in neutral tones, leaking an aura of inertia. Inside the bathroom, yellow stains and calcium were on every surface that ever came in contact with moisture. There was one large window outside her living room. It looked upon the yard, which was inside a city block, walled out by other buildings which shared a specific look insufficiently meant deterioration, and almost completely overgrown by resilient city vegetation, sharp crumbly gray stone. Children magazines over 45 years old. Smelled old. Yellow paper was magnificent. I wonder if this is the naturally immune kid. Emergency broadcast code out of now. Were built decades ago to serve purposes. Wow. This gives a bit of information about probably the structure. The tunnels were built decades ago. Yeah, I figured out what it said. To serve a number of purposes, whether officials or the police needed to move around unnoticed, they used the tunnels. Whenever heavy objects were needed to be transported between buildings, people used the tunnels. It was quite an inconvenience when scientists discovered the perplexing unsoundness of the local soil. Workers could only watch in disappointment as entrances were sealed. It was important to note, though, that the thickest and sturdiest doors weren't the external ones. Most of the corridors branched off into bomb shelters, sadly completely inaccessible at the only time they were needed. Therefore, it made sense to place the armed doors not at the entrances of the tunnels, but at the joints that connected them to the shelters. Because of this slight oversight, most of the seals were broken and regular visitation of tunnels resumed, with the difference that most users had become people who fostered no regard to the potential consequences of their actions. The lowlifes of the city found a new home, and one that promised to separate them even further as time went on. So the tunnels are a dangerous place. Do not go in the tunnels. Gotcha. Oh, this is going to be fun. So there's a lot of lead. So this place is really contaminated by everything. All the things. So, going through this really quickly, here's what I think is going on, plus the videos I'd watched. This is a post-chemical attack Russia. What happened was there was a war or something, and they decided to make this chemical weapon that was similar to ether. But it made people extremely violent. People who didn't want to deal with this, mainly civilians, said, fuck this, we're making a vaccine. I don't know how you make... Can you make a vaccine against a chemical weapon? Can you make a vaccine against a chemical weapon? No information. Well, we'll assume they were making like an antidote, a vaccine against it, something. But the vaccine had its own problems. It made other mental mess-ups. So, basically, you had to be, so I guess ADHD or autistic or something to be immune to this agent, because they mentioned a kid with behavioral problems, and usually when they mention behavioral problems, stuff like hyperactivity, ADD, ADHD, autism, things like that tend to come up. And they said mild, so it could be like any one of those. And I know people are going to be like, no, that's not really what it, like, no. That's what they mean when they say behavioral problems, usually. That's usually what it means. This is just, I'm using colloquial language to make a point here, so don't panic. But apparently, if you are any of these things, you are immune to this chemical agent similar to ether that makes you kind of crazy. Like a lot of these broadcasts are further down the line. There are computer glitches. They communicate with each other. We're not sure how many there are. But people do help each other out in this further down the line future. And they're very afraid of these chemical attacks. They do things like they seal up their windows and stuff. So there is an outside party, which I think the police and missing persons and possibly a few people outside of these apartment complexes, these PCHs, PHCs, live in. So I think there are basically like two people, the apartment people and the outsiders. The outsiders are the ones who tend to attack the apartment people. Like, the apartment people are considered the enemy for some reason, even though they're a very nice society. A little crazy probably to the vaccine, but, you know, they help each other out. They are friendly. They try to help each other when there's violence. They warn each other of attacks. They're a fairly functioning society, you know, all things considered. And they share supplies, and they do have a punishment system in place. We don't know exactly what it is, but they also have a place called a suicide room, and it's unknown what it does, but I'm guessing, you know, you kill yourself in it, but some of the suicide rooms aren't working. So I'm guessing they have residential rooms, and they have a soft room type room, where you can decompress if things are getting too rough. It's a decompression room. So, I think Prelude takes place a little bit before the attack. The first attack, I should say. This is when you see what it can do, and people started building these bunkers. They first wanted to use the underground bunkers, but they couldn't get into them, but instead created basically a slums, a third faction, essentially. These might be the tunnels mentioned in Missing Persons Report. So, and keep in mind, this is just what I'm going off of from what I've heard and what I've seen. So we have the apartment complex, we have like this outsider group, that's basically like the actual world government in some way, shape, or form, I'm assuming, because I think the police work for them, which is why they don't really care about civilians. Like, BL in the Missing Persons Report, if you watch that, like, they don't really care that he's missing. Like, they do a shitty job. And I think part of it is they're probably a little crazy from Blue Neon, because probably in people who survive, they kind of just go crazy. Like, really fucking crazy. But after that, they're a very violent society that's kind of nuts and very dangerous if provoked. Like, they don't retain their sanity the way the vaccinations probably do. Like, compare it to the kid sitting quietly in the corner rocking for the vaccines, and the kid who's probably gonna punch you for no reason for the Blue Neon survivors. Very aggressive and very selfish. Because they mentioned things like, because I think the clerk they found was also a Blue Neon survivor, because he's a clerk, so he might be a little more outside. In fact, when they are talking to people in the third level, they're talking about, most people are like, leave us alone, go away. They will not deal with, the cops. They will not deal, like, this person that they're looking for. They don't care. In fact, one of the main points out, it was 6 months ago. You're idiots. you know, basically saying, you know, he's probably dead because the entire land at this point is contaminated with blue neon, whatever the fuck this vaccine is, lead, probably some nuclear stuff. Like they kind of went a little crazy with the poisons here. It's healing. The world's healing from a lot of it, but it's still very dangerous to go out. So they have to be very careful. They have to, like, use their rations carefully. The air is probably really bad, so they have to put a gas mask on and keep going. But that being said, the blue neon people are the ones actually in charge of the world, unfortunately. The ones who are affected by it and still alive. So I don't know if blue neon kills, but people can survive it. You just go completely bonkers. And again, they're very selfish when it kind of wears off. Like I said, I think the clerk is another example of either a blue neon survivor or somebody who's more severely affected by the vaccine, because they ask Billy to let him lick his feet. Billy, I don't know what, I think he's just like the butt monkey, like he's the weakest one, so he kind of becomes the butt monkey, and his feet get tortured, because feet torture is kind of a thing with the blue neon. I don't know, that one, I think they just put that in purposely to be weird, honestly. Anyway, but the blue neon, you know, agree because they don't care. And one of them's even jealous because they were into that. They wanted to be the one to do it, but since they were, like, in the week as well. And there's, like, a third one that's, like, I guess considered even weaker than Billy because he drowned. So, sucks to be him. I'm proud of Billy because Billy took all this shit and kept going and didn't get jealous and didn't drown like a moron. So, there you go. But who knows what that means if he's proud of him. That could mean a few dozen different things. But you get the idea. Like, the Blue Neon Society isn't very nice. And they don't really like the people in the apartment complexes. Now, the symbol, I don't know who has that symbol. I don't know who is associated. They say the apartment next to you in the video that premieres it, so I'm guessing it's the apartment complex's symbol, but we don't know. And as for the Ascension thing, I think that's an apartment complex pseudo-religion, maybe? Again, this is just me theorizing and guessing and kind of going, I just watched a weird video, a bunch of weird videos, and I just read a weird blog. And I just watched Nightmare point out there might be a story here. This is like all of my theory. This is all I've got so far because there's not a lot of information here. It's pretty new. And clearly it's still updating if their latest blog post is the 6th of May. And it's like, as of now, June. So, just kind of a wild guess. And it is kind of cool to do this theory video. Now, I'm going to watch another theory video that I'm interested in by Rainbot, so I get... Because I like watching other theory videos to see, like, what they're thinking versus what I'm thinking, and blah, 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 blah. Blah-de-blah-de-blah-de-blah. But it's a very short video, so probably not much. This is probably, like, a very... Because I'm probably going to glue the two videos together at this point. This is a very long video. So, summation, this is a post-apocalyptic Russia. I don't know if this is all over the world. This is clearly at least in Russia, due to a lot of the aesthetics. But this is a post-apocalyptic Russia at least, maybe world, we don't know. There are 3 basic factions. The tunnel dwellers, who are the, basically, pickpockets, the murderers, the criminal element, basically. We have the apartment dwellers who are a little nutty, but actually help each other out and are fairly more survival, help each other out, keep the human race going based. A little wacky, but most of their insanity is either self-harm or harmless, or unintentionally might harm you, but not really. Like the skin thing. I don't know. I didn't say they were bright. I said they were nice. And the blue neons, the people who survived a chemical weapon called blue neon. That was the vaccine was for. Who are a bit more selfish, aggressive, but they kind of run the earth. So, yeah. Basically you have these three elements in a very toxic, unsafe world with a strange religion, possibly, and we don't really know where some of the pieces fit yet. Like the Bambi where could be somebody calling for their pet, for all we know. Could just be flavor text. Because there is a lot of that in this, but it does give you a very good idea of what the world is like. So, that's my guess on it. This is basically a very strange post-apocalyptic world. And Jesus Christ, a bit of death scared me. Maybe this is affecting me more than I thought. I should go back to watching Markiplier play Doom. That's less scary. Later, guys. Okay, this is like a little addendum to the end of my little theory video on... I'm just gonna put the name into the frickin' video because I can't say it for shit. I'm probably gonna look up the meaning while I'm doing it. So, I just watched Rainbot's video on it to give me a little more information. Somebody in the comments of it mentioned that the person is from Serbia, which is... I know it's not Russia, but that's pretty close to Russia, so that kind of explains the apartment style. So it's not in Russia, it's probably in Serbia, but it could be in Russia too. And I looked up the word pithier. I decided I should do that to see if there's a meaning behind it. Because when you're doing these, you look everything up. And I'm actually trying to look up the meaning of the name they have. It's supposedly Latin. And Aspicio may mean I look. But I didn't get a translation for the other half of the name. Omniam. So... there's something called Finis Omniam. I look the end? So I'm looking at the end or something like that, I guess the name means. This is just me guessing from what little information I have, because I don't speak Latin, and that's clearly fucking Latin. Basically, Remat's video didn't have, like, 100% new information, but that comment gave me a little piece of information, and at least now you know what the name of the channel is, so you can look at it. And yeah, the Pithior video, and I forgot to use it as a username, I forgot to mention that, but you probably saw it. I did see Pythier used as a last name, so this could be somebody's like old last name or last name they saw and decided to adopt it as their own name, and they're the ones telling us the story, maybe? Something like that. I couldn't find a meaning behind that name though, so... And I do stick by my current theory right now that this is, and no, I didn't show like Pythier. I'm just gonna call him Pythier because he uses that name on the blog. So Pythier's videos, because I don't want to like poke a bear, so to speak. I don't want to like get him upset or anything with me. Not because I think he'll be upset, but because I don't want to. So I just kind of did the noises and talked about the video more than anything else. So you'll hear his music, and it's obviously credited to him because I'm gonna say I'm reacting to, or I'm theorizing to, Aspicio Omniam. I'm gonna use the proper channel name in the title of the video. But I do stick by my theory of it basically, this is like Russia, Serbia, someplace like that got hit with something real bad called blue neon. And it created like this weird system where people are a little nuts, but in different ways. Like, we know nothing of the criminal element. That could be a mix of vaccine nuts and blue neon nuts. And obviously by vaccine nuts, I don't mean vaxxers like myself. I mean people who threw the vaccine against blue neon went a little crazy. But in a more tame way. Because when they mentioned the boy with natural immunity, he had mild behavioral problems. So, you know, again, there isn't a lot of information to go on. And clearly the vaccine was preferable to whatever blue neon did to you. And whatever the after effects of blue neon are too nice to deal with. So, again, that's my theory. It's a little disjointed right now. When more information comes out, you know, I'll update. Because it's kind of cool that there's like there isn't too much. I can't usually get into series like this because there's so much by the time I find out about them. Like, there's 50 billion things and blog posts and all. This has a few blog posts and a few videos. And I finished it all in a night. There's nothing else, thank God. So I can kind of start getting into it, start kind of digging in, you know, going, this is, like, you know, start figuring it out with the information I have. And I looked up a few things because, you know, I didn't know what it meant. So, yeah, and I needed this cheer up today. I won't get into why, I don't want to ruin the flow of this video, but let's just say, in a weird way, this cheered me up. So, thank you, Pythier. You've given me something interesting to follow. Hopefully you keep updating at least your blog so I can put in more information on my theory and figure this out. Because something tells me you're a freaking genius or you're freaking crazy. Either way, you're cool in my book. Later, guys.